everybody knows who we all are, yeah? I'll go first. I hope you guys can hear me all right. I'm Danny. I've been working with Griff and with Giveth since 2017. Everything about Giveth, and I also am really passionate about figuring out ways to make it accessible to projects everywhere doing awesome stuff on the ground and helping them show impact better and getting lots of money. So lots of people love Giveth, and Max and Matt and Leela. We brought together a bunch of different people who want to look at how we can make Giveth more accessible and provide resources to them. So that's how we all came here together, and I'll pass it over to Max.
Hey, Maxim, I know most of you guys. First of all, massive thanks and thumbs up for making it like that super early, especially Willie. Oh, it was like 6 a.m. or what, just rise and shine. So super stoked. Thanks for making that happen. I know it's tricky, like herding all the kittens together. I'm really, really stoked to show you like Gaia Gives vision a bit more in detail, like how we've been working on the different aspects and what we've been kind of carving out there. So I'm really, really excited to have everybody here on board. And I'm passing it to Lauren.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm Lauren. I work with Giveth. I do mostly communication stuff and like some coordination-y things. And I've been doing that for a few months and I love it and it's awesome. And I'm super excited to be here and learn a little bit more about what you guys have been working on. Danny's like giving me little hints with lots of excitement. Yeah, and I'll pass it to Mateo.
Hey guys, happy day to everyone. Good to be here. I've been working for Giveth since August of last year, kind of, as a software development. I'm building the Giveth 2 app. So yeah, happy to meet the ones that I don't know. And yeah, I'll pass it to Rick.
Yeah, I think I know pretty much everyone on the call, but I founded Giveth back in 2016 after the DAO exploded, and then I'm pushing a common stack, and I really like this two-headed approach of like Giveth's charity where it is and tries to like bring normal people into the crypto space to the crypto revolution, and the common stack really focuses on the nerds of the nerds and battle testing real solutions for like this critical problem, which is like people create value for society and they are not rewarded for it. Just ridiculous. And that's like the core. That's basically all I'm trying to work on, is how do we solve that. Yeah, and I'm around on the Giveth side, and I'm really excited, but not as engaged as I wish I could be. But I really am excited to see what Gaia Gives has to add to the mix. And I'll pass it to Matt.
Great. Hey guys. Oh, so stoked to be here. I'm an industrial designer by training. I've been leading the UI UX for Gaia Gives and getting more and more tapped in to Giveth and learning just the incredible work you all are doing. Yeah, so super excited to present here in a bit. And I'll pass it off to Willie.
Thanks, Matt. Morning, everybody. My name is Willie. I'm Principal Product Manager at Shapeshift. I don't know guys about that. I got promoted like this past month. Now the top product manager at Shapeshift, helping build the future of finance over there. And then in my free time, working with Giveth to build the future, which I'm definitely very passionate about. I love what we're building, and I think it's absolutely essential. And I think we really are building the future of giving. And I love that part of that is this white labeled platform where other awesome organizations can build on top of us. So really excited to see the presentation today. And I'll pass to James.
Hi, hey everyone. I think I know everybody on this call. I'm a developer by trade, long time with Giveth, I guess like more than a year anyway, like a year and a bit. And yeah, I worked with Raphael also for 6 months. Yeah, I mean the carbon economy and all things carbon and environmental help save the world kind of business. So I'm kind of like passionate about this impact really, and try to find my way that I can contribute to that, really, I guess. So yeah, I've been across on the Gaia Giveth side also, and super happy to be here with all of you. And yeah, unite the clans, unite the clans. I'll pass it to Raf.
Thanks, James. Yeah, so I don't know anybody on this, like everybody on the call, but some familiar faces definitely. You're all frozen. Can you confirm that you guys can hear and see me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. So it's just on my side. Yeah, I've started a project pretty much a year ago, and then like spiraled down pretty deep in the whole craziness of carbon markets and how shitty all of it is, and trying to figure out how to make it better together with James. And then I found fellow people who are working on similar goals. And so I thought, let's join, unite the clans, join the family. And I pass it over to Ronnie, who's also in the carbon economy, I would say.
Hello, my name is Ronnie. I'm from Gaia Gibbs and have a banking background, but now I work with a foundation, a little involved with carbon credits in Costa Rica and some other environmental and financial stuff. So thank you very much for the opportunity of this call. And I don't know who's left. Is anybody left? Lila, I guess.
Lila and Forrest and Ashley.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. It's such a beautiful pleasure and honor to meet you all and see your beautiful faces this morning. My name is Lila. I am from Costa Rica, grew up in Germany. In Germany, we founded the NGO Gaia Protection, and that's where we first also started to realize that it doesn't matter how a project is, it always lacks of two things: project funding and talent. And that's where on the talent aspect we got together with Maxim, Dani, and Ronnie to collaborate on developing a pathway to really see the impact on the ground and make it more accessible for donors and pros to really showcase their direct impact. And I'm super passionate about storytelling, about information technology and communication, and have a business background and basically corporate social responsibility approach. So thanks so much for making all of this magic happening, and I pass it on to Forrest.
Thanks, Leela. For me, it's a real joy being here on this call with everyone and kind of seeing this of like personal dear friends and yeah, collaborators coming together. I remember being with you, Leela, a year ago and brainstorming Gaia protection stuff up in the mountains. And it's really cool to see this come full circle before I even knew about Giveth. I think I know everyone on the call except for Raphael. Nice to meet you. I'm a project manager at Giveth and helping with communications and give token stuff. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and learn more. And with that, I will pass it to Ashley.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Forrest. I'm Ashley, and I've been with Giveth, helping with Giveth since October. So I do a lot of like community connections, communications, helping to implement our new Give token, things like that. I'm really excited to see your guys' presentation. I hear a lot of snippets from Dani, but not anything that is gonna like give a bigger picture like what we're gonna see. So I'm excited to see what you guys have. So I'll let you get to it.
Should I take it over from here? Hey, Dani, could you somehow allow me to share my screen? There we go. Already a step ahead. So now I just need to figure out how I do it. Share screen is
there's 3 buttons down on the bottom. So the center button between the hands.
I think we got it right.
There you go.
We got it right.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm super. Hey, so okay, I'd love to run you guys through just give you a quick little overview of what we were kind of thinking for today's call to cover. So first in preliminary, give you guys a little overview, which I'm doing. Go through the pitch deck basically, or the partnership deck. to just really like scope the broader vision of Gaia Gives and really tell what we're all about and what our different approaches are. And then I would like to pass it over to Matt, who's been really eagerly working on the mock-ups and UI UX experience, basically, that we've been compiling to like give you guys a nice little run through what we've been up to there. And at the end, I would really love to get some feedback and also really see how we can best collaborate on the roadmap, like how closely are we tied together, aligned, how close can we work together. That's another like thing that I would really love to dive a little bit into, and maybe we need to set another call for that to like discuss that in a little bit more detail, how that would actually look like. But yeah, awesome. So Gaia Gives preliminary. Oh, powered by Giveth. Down there it says it should be there. I don't know why this is cut off right now, but you guys are definitely powered by Giveth. So that's super important, and that's how we want to keep it as well. So preliminary for the Giveth community as well to understand for all of you is that we're obviously all open source, radically open source. That being said, we really want to make sure that everything is interoperable. So making sure that for example, backend databases, etc., are aligned, so we can list projects on these different platforms, like the Bloom network, for example, like on our platform and the Giveth platform, etc., and have all these other white label versions that are going to be popping up interoperable, so they can be listed or cannot be listed depending on what's the section or the focus of that particular platform. So I think that's something really key to keep in mind. And our ultimate goal is really to help Giveth in its mission to revolutionize and bring on the next era of charitable giving in that ecosystem. So I'm really excited about that. So first of all, this is all cut off. Maybe I'm going to do this a little bit different. Okay, first of all, like, how do you know if your donation really makes a difference? So that's one of the major issues we've been tackling. I mean, you guys are pretty familiar with that. It really comes down to the cost of distrust, being 65% of donors say that they would actually like to give more if they knew the impact of their donation. So that's huge. There's huge statistics around that. I used to like work as a fundraiser for Amnesty International, like train a team of 15 people, and to say the least, it was a pain in the ass. To say the least, as well as expensive. Like that's the major issues which we're like facing here. Really, for organizations, it's super high overhead costs. So around 15 cents of every dollar are being used to generate the next dollar. So that's massive. As well as obviously keeping donors informed and involved is super labor expensive. As well as you get one like letter from WWF a year, and that's about it. So there's really no engagement or connection or emotional bond that is being created. And obviously timely and accurate reporting is difficult and expensive. And for givers, obviously they don't know how their money is being spent, as well as they don't feel engaged in the process. As I mentioned, you get one letter from WWF a year, and that's about it. And also they also don't have as much as they would like to give, and that's the interesting aspect with the tokenization, etc., that we're getting into. So what's our mission is really to accelerate and empower impact projects around the world by leveraging technology, blockchain technology, as well as impact measurement, etc., and storytelling particularly, to make philanthropy more transparent and engaging. So really tell the tale and show what we're all about, or what the product is all about. So Gaia Gives, boom, a new area in giving, is a blockchain-based fundraising platform that matches donors, promotes initiatives, and particularly important, also standardizes reporting for regenerative projects, which is particularly key for small organizations to be able to build up a track record and trust. So why use blockchain? I mean, you're probably pretty familiar with that. Track and trace on the blockchain is obviously super important, so we actually know where our money is going to work, as well as rewards for doing good. The tokenization is a really interesting aspect there, as well as for curation of the platform actually. So in looking into the core features, first of all, like Gaia Gives is a curated database of impact projects. So we're vetted for impact, so we really make sure that every project that is being listed on the platform is going through a process of evaluation through the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, as well as ESGs, which are environmental, social, and governmental, to make sure that the quality is coherent essentially on the platform, and every project is really doing what it says it's doing. The other aspect is the matchmaking kind of aspect of really easily finding the perfect donor / project. So you can see like the little globe, like Matt's gonna like walk you a little bit further through that, and as well as you can easily just type in, for example, reforestation project, etc. And we are categorizing these into the 9 Gaia goals instead of the 17 SDGs, just for an easier and user experience and less like comprehensivity, if that's a word. So the other aspect that's really key, similar to like Giveth Trace, built for transparency. So really breaking the organization down into projects, so organizational profile projects, and then underneath the projects you have the different milestones essentially, to really make sure we can create a track record also for small organizations, as well as make sure that the funds are being used wisely and going to work where they say they are going to work. And if not, well, we have a way of actually tracking that, and in case worst case scenario, cutting it off. But that's obviously not the goal. It's really creating more accountability in that sense. And that's where also the budget and impact matrices are coming in, that are really key. So we can evaluate, okay, how much money do you use to like plant these 1,000 trees, etc. So it's like all like compatible, etc. To show a really easy verification process as well as track record. So the other aspect that we really want to focus on is match funding. So creating corporate responsibility essentially in that sense. So what does that mean? For example, up there, you could already see the Patagonia match funding, for example. So Patagonia, it has the possibility to give match funding to each of these projects. So therefore, they get an embed version essentially for their platform and their webpage, so they can show exactly where they're distributing and their funds and which projects they are actually tackling. A little bit further down the line, we want to give them an evaluation, or to be able to offer an evaluation, where we go to companies and be like, hey, these are your risks, these are your negatives, and these are the projects essentially on the platform that you can balance that out with to be net zero at least, or positive at the end. So I think that's another really important aspect, especially if we're looking into more legislation being pushed forward, as well as corporate responsibility just being super key in the eyes of the consumer, essentially. Okay, then the little smart wallet here to easily manage your donations. So that's where we kind of like have the different aspects of just easily being able to maneuver your funds between these different projects. So let's say like this month I want to get less to the reforestation project in Haiti, and I want to give a bit more over here because I really need some water. Just like click on, like Matt is going to show you through basically, and easily just add on another $10, and you just have your current monthly rollover donation basically that you can then easily distribute between the different projects, and also track which areas, which impact areas you're actually tackling. So you can see, for example, how much you're investing in arts, health, and ecology there, and just show the different metrics is basically to really make it more visible to the donor what is it actually that you're doing with your money. And obviously the tokenization here is super key. We have the gift token there, which we're thinking of preliminary using, if that's obviously coherent with the Giveth community. And then I don't know if it makes sense later on to get a Gaia Gives token or whatever, or that's, I think we need to do a little bit of evaluation and feedback from the Giveth community as well. What's the thing that makes most sense in that regard? And yeah, that's going to be really exciting, using the tokens as well for curation. On the platform, we are generating a lot of match funding ourselves, so we can disperse. We have some backend trading mechanisms in place, basically, with which we are able to create quite significant sums of capital, essentially, to be distributed on the platform itself. So we personally don't want to actually take charge on where that is being allocated. That's where we want to get really into a user/peer-reviewed disbursement mechanism. So similar to Gitcoin, for example, the quadratic funding, basically making sure that by staking these tokens on these different projects, as well as donating, etc., that the match funding is being then dispersed automatically. So better stories, more donations. So what we really want to focus on is tell the tale, bring the story across. So really engage donors at every step of the donation process, have their newsfeed being updated with obviously the projects that they're donating to, and then projects that are within their interest field or just the pin of the month or whatever, to really get more of an engagement and more like a positive news platform on there. There's so much positivity being spread on this planet and so many solutions that are out there, so many people tackling these issues, and it's so little communicated. So really creating like a positive news platform for impact essentially is what we really want to focus on. And that really plays into building like long-lasting relationships as well with the donors. So making sure that they also over a couple of years, basically several years, are donating to that platform. That's, by the way, one of the major, I worked in fundraising, so that's like one of the major goals by organizations to onboard donors that are giving over the next 5, 10, 20 years. Because if you just have a monthly donation of 10 million and next month you have 0, you're running into massive issues. You can't budget. So that's really, really important, building these long-lasting relationships with the donors to really engage them and make them stay on board with the project for a longer period, extended period of time. So that's where it's going to get a little bit more complex, is once we start going into the measurement and reporting results, basically. So we really want to create a streamlined reporting mechanism, standardized data presentation across the different project types for even like the smallest projects. So through the usage of the SDGs, so Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the ESGs, environmental, social, and governmental. Ronnie has been working really diligently on that and getting like a metric system basically in place for that. Later on down the line, we're very excited or curious to see how we can have a different layer basically of plugging in different verification mechanisms like IXO, for example, you're probably familiar with, or most of you, or the Regen network, and then plug this into these different aspects basically as they become readily available. But that's going to be like a longer couple of years process essentially to be able to like really get the whole scope of the SDGs being verified in a more like data analyzed fashion. And also for the donor, we really want to easily show the impact that they're having with their donation. So like how many trees they've planted, how many wells they completed, for example, how many parasites they removed, etc., etc. So have all these different aspects very easily visible. Like you can see it down there a little bit, and Matt's going to talk you a little bit more through that in the mockups. You can see the total cost of impact, for example, cost per well, that can be broken down then, and like how many wells you actually contributed to. Comparative analysis, I mean, I think you guys done this already, but I think Gaia Gives and Giveth are really different from what most platforms are doing out there. First, with track and trace and blockchain, it's pretty rare, as well as the newsfeed emphasis on the Alaya is really like in a similar kind of field in that regard. Incentivizing donors hasn't been done. Vetted projects, that's only Alaya and Kiva that are doing that at the moment. Match funding, I haven't seen that out there. As well as standardized reporting in Alaya, you can't really say that they're doing standardized reporting. They say they do, but it's really minor. And also, obviously, we're working within philanthropic projects. That's really important. So what's our target market? Individuals, government institutions, charities, obviously crypto worth with the market cap blowing up to 2 trillion basically at the moment. That's huge. Foundations, as well as corporate brands. So we already have brands signed up. We're already talking to some, we're talking actually to like several foundations, as well as charities, etc., that could even use the white label version to, like, for example, United Nations, we actually have a contract there with Sergio. They could use the entire platform basically as a white label version to get all their projects listed on there and track and trace everything. And we can list whatever projects, for example, on our platform as well as the Giveth backend. So that would be really interesting to see how we can make all these different platforms and white label versions interoperable. I think that's a really, really key model. So what's our business model essentially? Instead, just to be regenerative as well. First of all, platform donation fees. So we don't take a donation of the donation. 100% arrives at the project. That being said, people can put in an additional extra for Gaia Gives essentially in the platform development. So Startnext averages with that model 7% of all donations, for example. So Kickstarter only makes 5%, so they're actually doing better by a give what you want kind of model than Kickstarter, which is super awesome. Then obviously direct donations, we've got a pretty big network of high net individuals, as well as family funds. corporate responsibility. The kind of thing, something taking around like a flat 3% platform fee to get the embed version and all of these different aspects and verification. And the tokenization, obviously, that's something that needs to be a little bit discussed as well with Giveth. And impact investment, like we also like have a little bit of a diversification essentially of the portfolio through impact investments, actual investments into different impact projects to be regenerative, to get funding back into Gaia Gives to be dispersed back on the platform. And last but not least, capital placement programs, which really outperform most of the other aspects altogether. We are sanctioned essentially as a humanitarian organization, so we have access to what's commonly understood as interbank trading. It's very high returns on principal, essentially. So with that, that's how we are able to create a lot of liquidity to be able to be distributed again to these different projects out there. So that's really, really exciting to be able to really expedite and accelerate their funding needs. And that, again, said, peer reviewed. So meet the team. I think you've just had the honor basically of like meeting everybody out there. You know me, Lila, obviously, who's by Epic and been working with Gaia Protection for ages and super stoked to join. Ronnie as CFO and Danny, you know, familiar with Danny, obviously superstar. James, obviously, who's like, I'm super stoked to be on board basically to give us the technical guidance, essentially, especially with the Giveth understanding there. Matt, who's been doing an epic job in the UX design and product management, and Joshua, he's our brand strategist. Basically, he used to be the creative director for Unify, which you might be familiar with, the math meditations. And then Ron Gregg as CSO, we should just start to engage. And Rafa should be really on there. He's been a massive help, basically going a lot into like product management, basically from the more like business development, technical kind of side of things. So advisors, obviously Griff Green, fucking Stella, you, love you, bro, appreciate your tons. Brian, you guys know, familiar with from SCG Impact Fund, as well as Magenta from the Bloom Network. Raleigh, she's also been like working a long time in the crypto sphere, as well as Anush, and who's been like connected to some of the 300 top family funds in the world. Basically, they're all non-political, but they have a huge philanthropic funding essentially available to impact projects. So that's huge for us. Steve and Mark Acosta, these are the guys that we're doing the trades with. Super epic. Marcus works for G Nation. Really stellar team. And Tammy from Unify as well. And strategic partners, obviously, like first and foremost, Giveth. We're super stoked to be working with together. Like stellar team. I love all of you guys, and like so stoked everybody's like nearly here in Costa Rica. Not everybody, but soon to be Griff too. And like now we just need to get really over. And obviously SCG Impact Fund, who we're working super close with together. Gaia Protection, which is going to be the matchmaking aspect between talents and products, which is going to be a little bit later dialed in. Fundación María Verde, our Costa Rican kind of ally, Ronnie's Foundation, and the Common Stack. That's also another aspect that I'd be really curious about. And maybe with Griff or somebody basically talk a little bit later on how we can make sure that Gaia Gives also, as alongside Giveth, basically plugs into the whole Common Stack and make all of this like regenerative for everyone. And Bloom Network, Topia, and Brickmakers, obviously, which are our front-end developers. So that's what I really want to like talk a little bit further with in the development roadmap with you guys. Just to give you an overview of where we are at right now. So we're finalizing the branding and mockups. The landing page is getting live right now again. Like there was just a little issue, and with the URLs, and we've been starting to engage with Brickmakers to do the front end development. They're a really stellar team, like 90 people development team in Germany, actually in Koblenz as well. So that's pretty good time wise, as well as James, Kai, Matteo, etc. Oh, I don't know if Matteo is in Europe actually, so my bad. In Europe, so a lot of the development is happening there, which is super awesome. And we've been starting to engage with them to get now into the UI UX design, get that really refined, essentially to really stress test all our assumptions that we've been making with the UI UX, and get a few different characters, essentially personas, to really stress test all these different aspects of the platform. So it's going to be really exciting. I think once we're done with that, it's going to be really exciting having a really well thought through platform essentially that can then go into development. And that's what they're really like excited about as well. And that's where we're very excited to talk with you guys and the Giveth community, like how closely can we align all our development efforts. And yeah, maybe we can discuss that a little bit later. I'll be super stoked, like the closer the better, and from my kind of opinion, so that we really make sure everything is super interoperable, easy to use, also for the future. Yeah, and then hopefully in September, October, we're launching with the first pilot projects, and or even like launching completely, depending on like brickmakers basically said once they launch the platform, it's done basically. So there's no more like debugging or etc. I had that in first there, but they already do all of that basically beforehand, which might be quite beneficial for us because we're dealing with a lot of money and donors' money, and so therefore it might be really good for us as well if that is really operable straight off the back. And then we are also like in the third quarter looking into setting up the European NGOs, so we can get tax deductions written within the European Union as well, and then from there spreading out. And then obviously the tokenization and long-term, obviously the whole data analysis and impact verification, especially with like systems like IXO or region network, etc., that could be plugged into. And then probably the first quarter of 2022, start with Gaia protection and matching the talents and projects out there. So yeah, that's it. Hey, you can contact me or us. Extra slides. Okay, cool, awesome. That was a lot of talking, a lot of impact. Do you guys wanna have a quick feedback round, or should we just jump straight into the mock-ups with Matt? Just want to like make sure we're time sensitive as it's 8:36.
I just have a quick question. Like, could you go more into how you're going to do the project verification?
So maybe Ronnie, can you talk a little bit more about that? Would you like to?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. We are aligned to UNDP methodologies for impact verification, and they have some good practices. With this thought, there is many methodologies for impact verification. There is not like a standard on this, but we are using two strategies. One is based on sustainable development goals and how you can pick the sustainable development goals that you think it applies to your project, and you do a little statement, a short statement on each sustainable development goal that you think your project or your company fills in, and you make a little statement on that, and that's the first approach. The second approach that is a little more deep is in the ESG methodology, because in that thing we check environmental, social, and governance structure and appliances within the company or the project. The thing here is that most of them has to be seen as a policy or has to have some kind of order of how they work, or some efforts can be recognized by a certification and other not. So we try to quantify those kind of approaches within the ESG assessment that we plan to do. So with all that information, we can get a score, and we can get some graphics, easy to read, that we are building, that we have been trying to mock up there. But that's pretty much the approach. Is in both cases assessments. In the SDG assessment is more descriptive, and the other one has a more structure like a questionnaire or direct questions assessment. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, and also like further on from that, that's why I really like the milestone verification as well at the milestone level, so we can have the different review mechanisms in there, which preliminary are going to be fairly simple, like show an invoice, show me a picture of the plants you
we'll get into that
etc. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I don't want to steal your.
Oh, good. I've got
You
10
want to jump
minutes.
in?
I want to, yeah,
Oh, we got 10 minutes?
please. All
Okay,
right.
please.
All right, guys. Cool. See my screen? Double checking before I start. Yeah, you can see it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is the first like splash page essentially. So we want to grab people by their interest, right? So we chose to start with the picture of the Earth in some ways as a branding opportunity, as well as to try to dial into that place. And people talk about astronauts go up and they see the Earth from afar, and it gives them a new sense of belonging, a new understanding of the Earth. So we're running with that motif. And then up here we have different filters for the projects that are augmented on the globe. These could be optimized with time depending on platform traction and what people are really supporting. Over here are your search results. You can put in a qualitative search query or different filters. So in this case, they were looking for forest preservation. So it might change the map orientation, augment the projects. It can look through, see by country, get a little more info. I should mention before I get too deep, these are all pretty rough wireframes and are going to be subject to more development, click dummies, stress testing. But this is kind of like the general gestalt of the platform. So let's say, okay, I want to learn more about this project in Costa Rica. Looks, this is a compelling title image. Can jump in. You get a short rundown. So similar Indiegogo Kickstarter, it's like a video featured up at the top, along with the SDGs that they're addressing. So you can get kind of a general idea, and followed by the milestone. Now, the milestone, as Maxim mentioned, we have our match funding, if available, will be listed. And so we're trying to gamify this in a way to create some urgency. So we have this bar filling up, and we're going to put in people's monthly donations, or like if you've allocated already monthly, this will make its way into the bar. So it'll constantly be moving forward to make it look like constant progress, even if it's just a person's monthly donation being allocated over the course of that month. And what you see here will become the hover bar. So put it here so you can kind of imagine it. So once you get back past this point, then we have a tabbed hover bar with the call to action always up here. So in the nomenclature we're using, add to portfolio rather than donate now, we're trying to flip the script a bit. Like this is more like an investment in the future of the Earth. You have your portfolio, like you can balance your portfolio, you can check in on it to see how it's doing, and you can add new projects into your portfolio. So we keep that top of mind as they're scrolling down. First, we show them some media to get them excited about the projects. This is what's really going on the ground. And these are touch points for NGOs to really connect with their donors, to build that trust and get people excited about things as they're moving forward. And then we'll address the impacts of the project, saying specifically how this project addresses or is making the world a better place. Then we'll jump into the budgets. Like you want to get into it, within these, you can see like we're asking for a couple $1,000s. This is really what's going on, or what we're asking, or what happened. So in this scenario, it was a funded and validated milestone. Within it, simple breakdown of their budget. We don't need to go like line item by line item, but more by category. And here you'll see we even have overhead put in, or indirect cost. And this is something that the public, and not to get too deep into details, but the public doesn't understand the true cost of indirect cost, especially for capacity building for nonprofits. So this is a place where we could educate people in that realm. Like many NGOs are starving themselves or cooking their books to keep overhead artificially low. And then here we have like the actual metrics that they set beforehand that they can then validate. And from the initial platform launch, it's going to be a more simple verification. So we're just going to ask them to upload essentially any documentation, be it photos, receipts, what have you, to verify it. So for example, here it could be a nursery receipt, and then a description of what people are looking at, if people really want to get into the details. Or alternatively, if it's a larger project, we could have, for example, another NGO that's trusted come in as a third-party verifier, and then issue platform certificates saying, hey, on the ground, we saw this happen, we know it. Then team and backers. Here is there's a bit of a gamification. So it might have a couple scoreboards, and it's not tied necessarily to like your total contribution. At least this one, it's more about your monthly. So there's a reason you want to be up on the scoreboard. Maybe you maximize or put more of your portfolio on a monthly basis and sustain it for this project. And then a bit more about the organization. So we're kind of going project first, and then if maybe this project isn't the perfect fit for them, tell them more about the org and other projects by that org. So that's a brief rundown of like the project page itself. On the back end, so say like I'm already donating projects. I'm stoked. I'm already in here, but I found a new project. I really like this reforestation project in Costa Rica. I want to add it to my portfolio. So you can see what your current monthly sustaining donations are all in one place. You can kind of think, well, charity water, I like what they're doing, but maybe I could just tune it down to $25 a month so I can fit the other one in my portfolio. So here you can toggle, and you can even see with the current match funding program what the true value of your gift, and then you can adjust your donation. And up here as well, you have a ability to see some metrics on the project, your total give tokens, eventually what that integration. From the impact, here's where all the good you've done is being aggregated. So you can see milestone by milestone the impacts as they're coming in. So for example, a couple days ago, Fight for the Forgotten put in a well, and it was $900 for that well. And my contribution, my $90 came out to a 10th of a well created. You can see who verified it, and even go to the update post announcing that verification milestone if it exists, in which case it does here. Updates, so we have a feed built in, as Maxim mentioned, that aggregates not just updates from your projects, but projects you might be interested in. This is something deeper that we can continue to unpack. So if you want to go deeper into the project itself, this is really a page focused on conversion, especially for non-users of the platform. So have like the long form text and then a hover box, really pushing for the call to action to support the project, get people onboarded to the platform. And then some extra features here we're looking to integrate in the long run might be a micro donation. So you could like hold on this toggle to choose your amount. So a clap might be $1, high five might be $5. Something that will need some development and thinking through. But this is a way where if you're not going to support them as a monthly donor, you can still show them that you like their work and help them along. And we're also looking in the long run to basically integrate a native affiliate tracking, so that from default, when you start sharing this, you have a unique referral link, and you can see the money that was brought in through your sharing of this post. So it gives like a real tangible reason to be talking about these projects and getting them out there. Now, Indiegogo will tell you that the average share brings in $15, but let's see the results. Let's see, we have with 13 minutes left of the call. Maybe I'll blitz through on the back end. I'll give you guys a quick overview. So this is for the project management side, so they can see everything that's going on with their projects in one place. Looking at affiliate link integration within the projects themselves. They can go, let's see. Oh yeah, so they can manage the projects in one place as well, including modifying their milestones and planning them but once the funding rolls onto the next milestone, it's kind of locked in place. And if they need to change anything about that milestone, they have to basically appeal directly to us, and we'd have to figure out what that governance structure is. They can post updates and the impact. So yeah, it gives you guys a basic idea of where we're at. I would love to get into questions in these last 10 minutes. if you guys have any thoughts
Willie?
here. I'm very curious.
This is beautiful. I love the presentation, love the mock-ups. Thank you guys for sharing it. It really looks awesome. One of my burning questions is you guys showed a lot of functionality, right? And I imagine that some of it is future stuff, things that will come eventually. Some of it's required for this initial launch. I saw on the development roadmap you were planning to launch in Q3 to start onboarding the first projects. So I was wondering, is any of the functionality that you guys showed, is some of that future stuff? And do you have a clear idea, like what's the minimal required features to launch?
Yeah, we have a whole sheet essentially. Happy to share that with you maybe later. Or Matt, can you pull it up? I mean, no, let's just share it because the whole feature list, V1, V2, V3 basically, so it outlines everything, is pretty specific. But I'm happy to share that with you. Or maybe you can post it in the Giveth community chat so everybody can take a little bit more of a look at it. Because yeah, there's a lot of features for sure. And it's going to be different iterations, obviously, but I think we can push for getting quite a lot in V1 in there with the Brickmakers team. They got quite a big team, so we can get a good push in there. Yeah.
Cool. And I want some of those features for Giveth too. So I wonder if maybe some of that stuff that we're building as part of the white label instead of as part of just the Gaia Gives stuff.
That'd be super stoked. I'd be really happy to jump maybe on another call at some point to really see like how close we can tie everything together and like how we're going to set up the teams basically with a Giveth community as well as the Brickmakers, like all the developers that they're bringing on board with this. So we really can make like, just don't do double effort particularly and make sure everything is interoperable and just like shoot for the stars, boom, together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, like just as we want to make sure that these features can be incorporated into Giveth, we would also want to make them available for this to proliferate in more white labels.
Absolutely. Super key. Yeah.
And I think like the impact graph is the bridge, right? Like it's kind of the back end that's shared. And this is kind of one way we can do this, that we can really proliferate this outwards to anybody and cross-pollinate all of the projects, right? I mean, that's one aspect. The aspect is around the milestones and the smart contracts and stuff. I mean, like Giveth Trace has smart contracts, right? I don't know, like that's a whole other rabbit hole, right? So yeah, it's interesting. Let's see. It's probably a whole call figuring that out.
Yeah. Do you guys have more feedback, questions?
One question, and then I'll let others ask questions. But I'm sure you guys have done this, but I'd love to hear what the charities or the nonprofits or the projects that you've shown this to, what they think about it.
Pretty stoked actually. So the one I'm showing it to, like it's so.
I was gonna say, you want to tell them about Tyler? I mean, our first little presentation of this slideshow, that was pretty epic.
Continue.
Oh no, I was going to ask if you wanted to talk about that because you just happened to meet Tyler, who runs one of the largest healthcare charities in the United States, and he didn't know what he was really sitting down to dinner with us about other than me. And after as we went through this, his eyes just got very, very big. He was extremely excited. He really wants to see more of this as we go forward. And yeah, the response so far has been pretty outstanding. The other thing to note is there's a lot of project support obviously baked into this. Helping projects provide their information upfront is an area that they need support with, and that's part of what Gaia Protection does. And that's part of their Max's amazing specialty right now, which is using these capital placement programs to actually have funds to pay people to provide these services.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah, and that's kind of like what we've been talking to a bunch of like bigger organizations, like for example, Sergio, they have a project with the United Nations, basically running like multiples of projects essentially within that. And they've been all really excited. And for them, I think what would be even like, as well as Taylor, who runs like one of the biggest mental health organizations basically in the United States, he got tons of money basically donated from these nuns to like tackle this cause in the States. For them, it would be, I think, very, very applicable to get a white label version of this for their specific needs, and then we can cross-pollinate basically and feed them into the Gaia Gives engine and Giveth backend basically, and feature them on both platforms, but they have such a big scope already, basically, of like projects that they're tackling. That's something that is I've been just from the resonance space getting a lot of like, especially in regards to bigger projects, a big thumbs up in regards to the white label version, which is very exciting. So yeah.
Yeah, there are a few points that I wanted to hit before so that it's clear. So when it comes to milestones, we are also considering letting that be flexible for single time funding opportunities. That's something like it may not be applicable to every project. That's something to keep in mind. And when it comes to our vision and the scope of the vision, we're also looking, as Max and Denver were saying earlier, to really guide these organizations in their development. So it could be through financing and talent placement, but it could also be creating something similar to what IDEO is doing in the within design thinking, creating like a lot of great resources for these small projects to level up and capacity build, and so that they can do the best work possible, not make those easy mistakes. Ultimately, we want not just to raise money, but we want to see impact.
May I just quickly add something to that? So over the last few days, we've had conversation with Anush, who is in Mumbai in India. And as we all know, there's a lot of craziness going on right now. And the whole world is basically looking forward to have an impact in India. And a lot of humanitarian organizations are joining forces, and the whole world is coming together to make change happen there. But that's also the crucial point in our human history, where there is this need for transparency, and there is this need to see what's actually going on the ground, and like what type of projects are actually funded. So in a conversation with him now, we're actually setting up a campaign for a humanitarian aid project on Giveth.io. And it would be really beautiful to continue this conversation with you guys, because it can not only be a first on-the-ground project where we actually experience and witness what's needed and how we can basically track and trace the impact, but it could also be a very beautiful joint forces movement between Gaia Gives and Giveth to basically come together for India. So just something I would like to quickly mention here, perhaps for a future conversation.
Awesome. You guys have more questions or any feedback, something like that? I was like, oh yeah, this is epic, or this is like really needs to get changed, or you can't say that ever, or I don't know, something that like popped out, or something that you guys are particularly excited about.
I have some questions.
Yes.
One thing I noticed, I mean, you have so many epic features, and one thing I noticed is that a lot of them seem to be around storytelling and content creation, and I'm curious if that is on the projects to provide all the videos and the blog posts and like all those descriptions and stuff.
Yeah, to a big extent, yes, sir. Oh,
yeah,
Leela?
I'd love to hear from Leela a little bit on that, because I know that she's been working on that a lot.
All right, yeah, so basically this is a very crucial part, and it's like really beautiful that you're asking this, because this is right now my main concern, and like my main focus point is to like understand how can we capture the storytelling behind each milestone without being the ones responsible for the actual creation of the content, because this then creates an additional layer of complexity for us, right? So on one side, this will be provided by, like Matt said, like ideation kind of tools and features for projects that we can give them so that they have the best way to showcase their project. And in a long-term vision, that's where the talent comes in. And this is basically a movement of videographers and storytellers for change that are going to those projects and capturing the change on the ground. So that's basically like the second layer of how are we outsourcing talent to go to those projects and verify their impact through videos and through projects. So yeah, thanks for that question.
I'd love to expand on that as well. We're looking at creating a user role within the backend for projects for people on the ground. So if you're doing a project in Uganda, like you want to be able to empower someone with a basic Android phone to be able to upload content in a simple way, and then allow the curation and copywriting to be done probably by someone higher up in the organization, but you want to have that connection. So we also want to empower the people doing the work on the ground to tell stories as well if we don't have talent there to do a more professional job. We want that bridge in any case.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys. And then my other question is, Maxim, I think when you were running through the donors, you're like estimating their company's impact and then offsetting that by them investing in the impact of these projects?
Yeah, so you just broke off hardcore. I understood the offsetting, basically measuring the negative risks basically of corporations and offsetting that essentially on the platform through positive change. And yes, that's one aspect is CO2 obviously offsetting, which doesn't really cut it. You know, I mean, we have so many different impact areas and risks essentially, or negative impacts that we're facing, that it's really key to really encompass the entire sphere essentially of the risks that they're actually or the weight that they're putting on the planet, you know what I mean, make up for that. So that's really key. So we want to give a more holistic approach essentially to that. So yeah, I know it's past the time basically. It's 9 o'clock. I just want to like I don't know, I can stay on like in a little bit longer if anybody feels passionate about it. I just want to really make sure that we potentially go a little bit deeper at some point. I'm going to share with Willie. I know he had to drop already, but Griff and Lauren and everybody from the Giveth team to like share the MVP requirements and all the different aspects a little bit and see how we can maybe set up another meeting to go particular through the roadmap and see how we can align our development efforts in that sense. That'd be really, really precious to me if we can maybe jump on a call and maybe like jump back like internal like Giveth communication there if that's something you guys want to do or not, or like just come back to us in that regard and then we can set up another call to see how tightly we can spin everything and really like accelerate everything and get the devs in the team and really exciting.
Yeah, I think that's the next steps that are really important. You probably need to get some reality checks around development timeframes and feature delivery. Max and Griff come from two different schools of thought. Griff is start really small, keep the scope really small and launch, and that's what we've done with Giveth. And Max is kind of go big, let's get the whole vision laid out and figure out how much we can get in that build.
You're both crazy. Love it.
I'm gonna get next week. I'm gonna get from Brickmakers a whole like Zeitachse, like a time axis with the development roadmap basically of the different features and where everything can go from their kind of preliminary. I mean, they already had a pretty good scope and they have a pretty good understanding of what we're up to basically and where we're going with everything. So I think that should give us a more realistic look at things as well. And then obviously if we can plug Giveth in, that's gonna accelerate everything. So can happily share that next week with everybody.
Cool. I'd be curious to hear, I mean, it may not be known, but like what your first user like focus will be, because there was like a lot of different target audiences that with very different needs. And so I'm curious, I'm curious which one you'll start with, you know?
Yeah. So first of all, projects obviously super key, and then millennia, so the everyday user. Millennials mainly because they're obviously more prone towards technology as well. They're getting into an age of having funds available actually to distribute to philanthropy. And after that, also then going into corporate responsibility and white labeling versions into bigger organizations, etc. So yeah, step by step.
Yeah, for our pilot, we were looking to do a good variety of organizations. There's a lot we could learn through a variety, and it'll make the platform, based on first impression, look a bit more expansive.
Yeah, and then we have a couple pilot projects that we're playing with. We've got the indigenous that's up on Giveth right now, the mamos that are coming to Costa Rica, where we're using that, and then the India project that Leela mentioned with Anuj. So these are two projects that hit the emergency funding aspect and the giving back and respecting, Mama Gaia aspect. We have those two key pilot projects, and we're working with SDG Impact to make sure we have all the donation pathways set up so we can start testing how to play with them as well for people who want the tax deduction. instead of the givebacks.
Super cool. Okay, guys. Well, give it to dev meeting. So.
Yep, dev team. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Good. Awesome, guys.
Pleasure to share.
Let me know when we can connect and go a little bit through the roadmap. Maybe Danny, you can like get to that maybe next week or something like that. And after I have the site access as well, etc., might be helpful.
Yep.
Awesome. Love you guys. You're epic. Stellar
Thank
team.
you so much.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
So
Much
happy to
love.
connect.
Ciao, guys.
You all, y'all.
Love you guys.
Forest! Forest! Forest!
Hi, beauty.
Hey, my love. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. I'm so proud of you. Oh my God, what you guys are working on is incredible. It looks amazing.
I mean, I'm all about the concerns and the feedback and the questions and the how are we doing this. So man,
Yeah.
like I would be so happy if you have any other questions, basically, please like mastermind, write them down and like let's answer them. Like I'm basically like right now